Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill. Hello, everybody.
Here we go. So, a podcast number 396. I stated some podcasts ago that we were going to stop at 400, but we're only 4 away, and I still haven't decided.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know what we're doing because I leave it up to you.
All right, so here is the title of today's podcast. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Do you think you can't do a creative? I'm going to do this again. Do you think you can't do creative real estate easily? Here's the description. Are you one of those people that secretly believe that you are not cut out to do creative real estate deals? Maybe you have convinced yourself that you're not good at math or understanding the core deal structures and constantly getting lost when trying to structure a deal. Or you may have convinced yourself that you're not the salesperson type. Heck, maybe you are just afraid of the cold calling aspect of talking to complete strangers. And now you just say, well, I'm an introvert. I'm not like those extroverts. Knowing that all of this has your creative real estate financial future stuck in neutral. How about we talk about a specific framework just for you so you can do just one deal and creep out of all these things you tell yourself about you? Like a personal gain plan just for introverts that really want to do deals. Allowing you to get control of these monsters and actually stop missing out on creative real estate wealth. I'm talking about unlocking you so there are no more traps. Let's get started.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Peter?
Well, I'm sure that has a lot of truth for folks in one way or the other, some part of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So housekeeping. So we record this podcast every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m.-ish, meaning it might be 9:36 or might be 9:25, but we plan on 9:30. That's Eastern Standard Time. We actually live stream it on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can go to one of those platforms, type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, and you could put wherever they allow you to type, put in your question. It will pop up on my screen, and I will try to answer the question. But the question has to be about the podcast because we only have a certain amount of time here, and I have an agenda, and I don't like to get off on other things. So if you have a personal question or a question that doesn't pertain to the podcast, you can do one of two things. You go to WhatsApp Messenger, type in Let's Talk Real Estate. We have 100 and something people in a group there. They or myself can help you there. It's kind of like a little mastermind group, just like Mr. Napoleon Hill talked about. And the other place you can go is Flipping Houses for Rookies and send us a support ticket. And I read those every couple of days or so. And if you have a question for Peter or I, we will respond. Okay. Last thing is make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. And make sure you like us, or if you really have to, dislike us. I prefer you don't do that, but I understand if we piss you off. And make sure you leave a comment about what you think about our podcast. Okay? So others can see it. Get that out of the way. So
Done.
here we go, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, today is a very special podcast, as I was
Because
just talking about, before, because today is February 29th, which is leap year. So we only get to do this podcast once every 4 years, Peter. So I decided to make it special.
all right.
I want to narrow in on those wannabe creative real estate investors who are hiding in the shadows or hiding in the closets or under the furniture.
Mhm.
They're peeking and they're watching. They don't miss a move. They get all the emails on my, if you're on my email list, you get an email every day. If they're on my email list, they're in YouTube, they're in Facebook, they're lurking in the corners, watching everything that we and others do, just wishing they could do it. This massive, massive desire. And they know who they are. We don't have to call them out. I'm not trying to put the light on your shadow so you could be seen, but I definitely want to talk to you today. So, no point in hammering all their symptoms past the description that I just read.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, this may not even be a popular podcast. Maybe this will be the lowest download we have, but I'm okay if it just helps one person.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, that would be the person who could actually push through and listen and maybe take a step forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I want to emphasize that this is not some psychological thing where I'm going to try to convince you to not be fearful or not be an introvert or how to make phone calls. I'm not going to do any of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a specific framework that you could do. Actually, it's for anybody. It's not just for introverts. It's for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I got this idea, Peter. Because you and I are working secretly until now, because I just told everyone, on a project to get deals,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The basic gist of this project is to go back to basics and do some deals quickly, because I want to do some deals. I want to do some deals because I need some cash, but more importantly, I'm interested in you. I know that you're trying to do some stuff, and I know that you're trying to get some enhancement, and you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to improve yourself, and I want to help you do that because
Mm-hmm.
it's my nature.
It is, truly is.
And what happens is we have lots of technology surrounding us today, right?
Yeah. It's
Because
crazy how much.
yeah,
I mean, did you think we would get to this point? Yeah, I know you always had a lot of this in your mind. You're thinking of it. But I started with a phone and pieces of paper. And I've gotten way farther than I thought would exist, and I'm doing it. So for me, it's crazy, but in a good way, of course.
well, what I've run into is, if you look at any basic AI robot, which is Open AI, which by the way, Open AI is like Google.
Mm.
They're the first ones to do what they did. Google came out; they were the first ones to have nothing on their page except a search bar.
Hmm.
Yahoo was already doing it, but Yahoo had a bunch of advertising on there, and they were trying to monetize.
Uh-huh.
But Google was the first one to actually have just a blank page and just
Hmm.
search.
Hmm.
OpenAI is the first one to hit the market and become famous. Well, they're not the only ones to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you an example, I have in Creative REI Reply, there's four of us. I'm the creative real estate guy. Sean, who's on the calls with me, he's like the techie systems type guy. David Esplot, who owns REI Reply, is like the software guy, if you would. And then Susan, who his other half or his wife, uh, she does support.
Mm-hmm.
So David, sometimes I'm on the call with David, and the way I envision these phone calls is you remember back in the early days where they had those helmets they would put on to go underwater, those round helmets.
Yeah, big, heavy, with the
right?
hose attached.
Yeah, and it's got the things. It looks like an alien.
Yeah.
I feel like that, and I feel like I'm way below the ocean, and I'm
Because
just down there, and I'm looking around, wondering what the heck is all this.
he's talking
And,
about software.
no, and his ideas
Yeah.
and the developers and what he has. And anyways, I'm babbling for no reason. I want to get on with the podcast. Yesterday we had me because we meet once a week, usually on Wednesday afternoons, and he had his new tool, which is an AI robot. It's called Reba. Call me to try to buy a house from me and set an appointment.
And talk, not
And
texting. This is talking.
I wish I could swear to it right now because it effing blew me away.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, you knew it was a robot to some degree, but it was so clear. No communication lags. It was like it was incredible.
That's nuts.
Now he's going on vacation to go to Cancun next week. He goes on a lot of vacations. He should, because he makes a lot of money. And when he comes back, I think we're going to have something like that in Creative Area Replay. So anyways, that's the type of technology that I'm talking about. And I'm completely diverted because today is not about technology. So, I mean, this thing like made an appointment with me. It's incredible. We're going to have the ability to put our own scripts in the background. It's coming. If it's not next week, it'll be next month. If it's not next month, it'll be the month after. It's very soon.
Mm.
We are releasing tonight in Creative Area Replay voice drops, which is you go in there and you record your voice. Like we give you a script and you record your voice, and the software, the AI, simulates your voice, and then you type in messages and you send them to people's voicemails. Hey, this is Bill Hawthorne. I saw you had a property at 123 Main Street. I've got 32 people that are interested in that piece of property, and I'd like to be able to talk to you about selling it. Can we chat soon? Right? And it's me saying it.
Yeah.
So that's the technology that I'm talking about. Okay. It's like, I mean, there's so much other stuff. We could talk about it for 14 podcasts probably. So anyways, I want to today eliminate this tech stuff for this episode and reveal an old enhanced framework, right? For someone that struggles with tech. Okay. So I'm not picking on you, but how old are you? You're 72, 73? How old are you? 71?
I'm 37. I'm 37.
Yeah, okay. So that means you're 73 because you did it backwards.
And 3/4. How about that?
Almost 74. So I know you're very good for your age. Right?
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm picking it up. I have less patience for it because I prefer, a more personal approach. But I do it.
Right.
But I think the big difference is when we're using automation, texting, AIs, and all that. We're actually going after people to talk to. And what you're going to talk today is how we get people to contact us, right?
Yep. I'm going to go there. Yep.
Yeah, and that's different because if somebody's not comfortable with some of the stuff, and to call somebody is one thing, but to have somebody call you, because I've been on both sides of this, like, hey, I saw your sign, I saw your ad, I saw your business card. You buy houses. I have a house I want to talk to you about. Who would be nervous about that? The guy's calling you. He's giving you the business. So that's another kind of an angle where you're not chasing people and bothering them. They're calling you. That's good.
So I don't want to. That's good. So I don't want to focus just on like because you're old and you have trouble with tech. It's not. I mean, there are a lot of our clientele that are like that, right? 60, 50, 60, 70 years old, right?
Yeah.
But even for the new guy that's really good with tech, I think this is good because you can get all the noise of setting everything up gone and just get right down to business. Get right down to the core of doing business.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So actually, I'm telling you that we're not going to use tech. There actually are two pieces of software that you can use. I'm going to talk about at the end of the podcast that are very cool. All right. So let's start off with a few basics. And this was the observation process that I went through. Okay. And
Yeah.
I narrowed it down to just three main. I mean, again, sometimes when I talk to you, I'm sorry, I had to put the heat on my feet. I'm cold. Sometimes when I talk to you, my wife is awake and got the air conditioning on like 48. She must be having a hot flash. So when I talk to you, sometimes I have to kind of like go through it to kind of figure it out. But after we chat about it, I kind of can articulate, right? So here they are. So some of the few basic observations that I had are: one, you just said it. Getting sellers to call you instead of you chasing them is the main tripwire for doing deals easier, right? Now, there's a whole lot behind that we're not going to cover today. One of which is when they call, we have them listen to a 5-minute free recorded message so that we actually weed them out. Now, you don't need to do that, but we like to do that because that message has been successful. It pretty much lets people know what we can do for them. And if they're not interested in that, then they can go off. Basically, when we're doing outflow, the way we're doing it now with the tech and calling people, is it doesn't filter those people. So the all cash buyers are part of our listening. We have to listen to them.
Yeah.
We have to receive communication from them because we're not weeding them out.
Right.
The texting we do is that weeding out device. So we have to put up with their crap. And it's literally sometimes abusive.
Right? Well, we could put more filtering information and say things, but then we could lose people too.
Right.
So we're trying to be in the middle someplace where we're not going to lose people, and then we might have a few extra to talk to, but definitely don't lose somebody that might.
So the good thing about what we're going to do today is that we're going to get people to call us, and they come through this little funnel that we have, right? And it's all automated, and we don't have to listen to their, except once in a while we'll get a voice message, which we don't have to listen to. I mean, if they're yelling and screaming at us, which does happen. Actually, it doesn't happen as much as it used to. I should say that again. It doesn't happen as much as it does with the texting. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because I mean, they're calling us. Like, if you don't like the ad, you don't like the commercial, you don't like the TV show, turn it off.
So we need to get back to that, because that's when I was most successful, is when I had people calling me. Right?
Yeah.
Number two, some of the older strategies we used to use and stopped using because they were not working was not a strategy problem like I thought.
Like the signs.
But instead a message burnout problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And then three, the basics of one. The basic of one is often skipped and not scaled properly. Now, Dan Kennedy says one in the business is bad. But
I guess I don't know what?
The basic of one. Just one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to cover all this, so I'll get back to this, okay?
Okay.
So now let's take these up and cover this old strategy with new additions for today's world, right? By the way, I can probably do a half a dozen podcasts on this. So let's just work on today with the simplest strategy and go from there.
Sure.
Okay, so I have this strategy, which you talked about, is let's start with bandit signs. We've already kind of revealed that, right? And I'm going to tell you this strategy has at least 3, 4, 5 other ways to use it and make money with it.
Sure.
But I'm going to just go after the core, simple way for right now. And then we could talk about that maybe in another podcast, right? So I also want to emphasize that 396 podcasts ago, I think I did it with you, but I don't remember, to be honest. But I know definitely I made the decision that most do podcasts and videos to tell stories and entertain you. Right? They're telling you what to do, not how to do it.
Yeah.
It's a strategy known in the information business that gets you to buy things.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not looking to monetize this podcast. That's why I've been doing it for 396 podcasts. It's my way of giving back, and I'm not going to go into that today. But if you don't believe that that's true, then why else would I do 396 podcasts? I mean, what other podcasts do our listeners listen to that have advertisements on them? We have no advertisements. Our advertisement is in the beginning. Like go subscribe to us and go like us. That's
Mhm.
our advertisement, right? So, but you and I, Pete, we don't try to do this. We don't try to tell stories. It's called infotainment. Infotainment, which is information and entertainment, right? And it affects us not going viral or getting more downloads
Mm.
because it's our podcasts are teaching you, right? So here's one thing that I want you to understand, I don't know why I'm doing this on this podcast, but it just struck me when I wrote it. So because our purpose and intention is to have our listeners actually get results from our episodes, right? Like in the beginning, we used to get in 5 or 8 years ago, we used to get a lot of people tell us, because back then we were one of the few podcasts that talked about creative real estate. Now there's a ton of them. Now everybody wants to write a book and do a podcast, right?
Yep.
So in other words, all 396 of our podcasts were purposely designed to not change what you do, but change how you think of creative real estate. Right. So the idea is to change the way you think,
Hmm.
right? And then the doing this becomes simple. And I consciously made that decision like years ago. I want to generate the way you think, because I envision someday us, meaning you and I, if I ever get it done, but it's us having a creative real estate group like the realtors.
Mm.
Like the realtors have a group, we would be the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
So here's some of the thinking you need to do about getting sellers to call you and chase you instead of you doing the opposite.
Hmm.
Okay. So one, um, having uh, having printed pretty signs that look like a big company,
Mm.
right? So
Hmm.
that's what we used to do. We used to print "We Buy Houses," right? And on the
Sure.
bottom we would put a 24/7. In the middle we would test, which I'm going to go over that too, because this is vital. What I'm telling you today may seem simple. I beg you not to discard it. I'm telling you there is at least 20 years of using signs, thousands and thousands and thousands of signs,
Mm.
tens of thousands of dollars, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit from deals.
Well, I remember when we were doing the signs, it was half of the houses I found were from signs, maybe yours too, I think. It was maybe half.
Yeah.
It was for me.
Yeah. Well, I
So
started off as an Ron LeGrand student, and he had you put out signs, and they went to Pat Live, and they asked 6 questions, and they would fax us the leads. That's how long ago it was. They would
Mhm.
fax us the leads. I had a fax
Mhm.
machine in my house, and every day I would come home from work, and I'd have 3, 4, 5 faxes on my fax machine.
Yeah.
I would sit down before I ate dinner, anything. I would sit down and I would call those people.
Yep.
And that's how I bought houses.
Yep.
Right? And I want to go back to that. I don't know about the fax machine, but so you're better off to handwrite the signs.
Hmm.
So back then we had the signs printed. We buy houses, whatever it was, all cash paid. Where there was all different messages, but it was always I buy houses, or we buy houses, or Pete buys houses, right?
Yep.
And they looked pretty.
You look professional.
Yeah.
Professional.
So
A little bit slick,
handwrite.
right?
You want to handwrite. Yeah, you want to handwrite them. You want to look like an individual. Now, I caution you very, very loudly that when I say handwrite, I mean handwrite but legible. Like I use all capital letters when I write. So
Yeah.
it looks like you're shouting at them, but it's better to see, right?
No, a simple thing to do is make a sign, stick it on the road, drive by the damn thing in front of your own house, or like walk by it 50 feet away, see if you can read it. It's got to be fat letters, very clear. And you can just go look yourself. If you can't read it, fix it.
So here is a little bit of a detour. So just to give you a little theory behind this, right? Go to your mailbox and open your mailbox these days. You have a lot of junk mail?
Yeah,
You do?
sure. Oh yeah.
I don't.
You don't?
Most people don't. Unless you're subscribed to a list, there's not like it used to be. It used to be a lot of junk mail. Like 8 or 10
Yeah, you're
pieces a
right.
day that were junk mail.
Most of my mail is stuff that I'm involved with, and once in a while, yeah, it's not that same. Why is that?
I don't know, because technology's taken over. So everybody's on the internet trying to do shit on the internet.
Instead
So
of spending,
right. So my point is if everybody's on the internet and they forgot about how to use signs, which by the way, the biggest problem with signs is placing signs, and I'm going to cover that. I'm going to crush your thinking with that, because this is why you and I are doing it, because I had this big fat realization about this. Okay. So when you handwrite signs, you're telling your seller that that they can actually speak to an honest, performing human being. This is not some VA from East Bum, Johunga.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's not some assistant that they're going to talk to. It's actually going to be a person. That's the intention you want to give them.
yeah.
Right, so number two, the next thing. So the first one is handwrite the signs. Number two, the next thing we have to address is, why have bandit signs not been working?
Right.
Right. So I figured this out because of Dan Kennedy's 3M, M like in Michael, 3M rule. It's his 3M. So he has a triangle with at each corner an M. And the 3M stands for message, market, and media.
Well, we haven't talked about that in a while. I totally remember that. You haven't said that in a bit. Message,
Right.
market,
So
and media.
This is how I kind of came back to this way of thinking.
Yeah.
So here's what he says. If you hit all three, you ring the bell and you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you had the right message to the right market with the right media, you ring the bell. You just flourish and prosper, right? So the market and the media were good with bandit signs. We always got leads from bandit signs.
Yeah.
So what changed is the message. The message got burned out.
Yeah, you can see those signs on every pole, on every street, and white ones, yellow ones, big ones, small ones, and it's like, oh, stop, don't bother me.
So what happened is that the we buy houses was burned out, and too many uninformed wholesalers, I'm nailing them, wholesalers, because that's
Yes.
who ruined it,
Yes.
trying to buy property for 40, 50 cents in a dollar, and they're not even the buyer. They're just trying to pass it along to somebody else. So it's a daisy chain of 15,000 people before you get to a buyer, and everybody's making money off of it. So they buy it for 40 cents in a dollar. Yeah. They're trying to land it for 40 cents in a dollar, and by the time it gets to the end user, they're paying 80 cents in a dollar because everybody's making money. Right?
I just thought that as you were saying that, because they totally got the impression from these basic, to me, amateurs that have no more sense to just buy something cheap and sell it for more, that there's no skill in that. It's just volume. But the message was terrible, and people just turned the whole thing off. Oh, those are people looking for a quick, cheap deal. I'm not selling my house for 300. And, I still see things like that, on texting, like, I'm not selling my house for, because they think we're just lowballing. So,
right.
Yeah, that's what ruined it.
Signs became synonymous with a lowball offer.
Yep.
Right. And if somebody didn't call the number, they said to somebody else, they've been thinking about it, and they're like, oh, don't call them. They lowballed me.
Yes.
Right. So signs. Yeah. So here's what happened is you and I consciously decided to stop using signs because I'd buy 500 signs, spent a whole bunch of money. We'd go out and put 25 to 50 signs a week out and get one phone call. And I just was like, signs equal no deals.
Yep.
But the problem is it wasn't the signs, it was the message. And I should know that because I'm a professional copywriter and I should know better.
Well, I remember trying to do something like, say, we pay top dollar or something like that to give them the other impression.
Right.
But from our viewpoint now, from years later, I'm pretty sure you can come up with a really good message to get us away from that thing, that whole lowball bit.
All right. So number 3, and the last point, and the most important point, this to me, it won't be to you, but to me is the absolute biggest mistake and the biggest change that has to happen to do this framework. This is the most important thing that I skipped. And I know many others that did the same thing, including Ron LeGrand and others, Lou Brown and Richard Roop and all the guys back in the day that hung around, right?
Yep.
They all skipped this point, including me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a basic marketing 101 point that was not applied to the bandit signs. And we're going to do that. I'm going to tell you how to do that today so you get results. Right? So this drops me right at the front door of the simple framework I speaketh of all this podcast for half an hour. So we're right in the meat of it now. So this is the framework. So if you're going to start taking notes, now's the time. You have a little bit of background history. You have a little bit of idea why this is happening. You have a little bit of theory, which some people want, some people don't. I'm talking about having 10 to 12 signs, actually 10 to 12 locations in a farm market to bring you 3 to 4 deals a month. Right? See, we used to just randomly put out 25 to 50 signs per week. Right? We'd put them on, like you said, put them on the highway exits. We put them on state property. We put them here. We put them there. And of course, the sign police would scoop them up. Right? I'll tell you a story one time. I used to own a gas station. For 27 years, I owned a gas station. Right? And I was running my house business out of the back of the gas station. It was a 1950s built gas station. And in the back was an apartment that my first wife and I lived in for years. We raised our children. We raised at least Jesse for 5, 6 years in it. It was awesome. It was good times, right? Sounds hillbilly, but it wasn't really, right? So we had it all fenced in. It was a really nice apartment, right? So I had taken the apartment out and I turned it into offices. And we had an office for the house buying business in there. And so, of course, right out front of my gas station, I had 20,000 cars or 18,000 cars go by there a day. Of course, I had a We Buy House sign out there. And then one of my guys out front, because it was a gas station, auto repair, and we had a used car lot as well. Right? Somebody paged me and said, "Hey, Bill, you got to come out here right away." So I go out there, and they have a car in the parking lot, and the trunk open, and they're talking to this dude. And I go over and I go, "Hey, Ron, what's up?" He goes, "I want to introduce you to whatever his name is, Sal, whatever his name is, right?" He says he works for the Meriden mayor, the Meriden city of Meriden in Connecticut mayor, and that the mayor has asked him to remove all the bandit signs. He had gone out to my sign on my street corner in my yard and taken my sign out
on your own property.
Yeah, and I was in Wallingford. It was right over the Meriden line. And I looked in the trunk, and this son of a gun must have had 50 or 75 signs in his trunk. And a big old Lincoln with a deep trunk. And I looked down there, and there's all my damn signs.
Yep.
He never spoke to the mayor. He never did none of that. The guy was a cuckoo clock. He was out to lunch, man. He definitely was a sandwich without bread. That's for sure. He was way out there. Okay, so my point is the signs don't stay up, right? So here's the new think that we're trying to come across with today, that Peter and I are going to be doing hopefully by next week, right? Is to find locations to put signs that stay there. So you don't go out and just randomly put 25 or 50 signs all over the place. What we're going to do, in other words, I'm going to, because otherwise I'll skip ahead. So I'm going to keep going. So in other words, make a deal with homeowners and businesses, because there's only 3 places you could put signs.
Mm-hmm.
On a homeowner or a property owner,
Mm-hmm.
right? A business owner, or the government.
Yeah.
Who else would own the property?
Yeah.
Those are the only 3 places,
an
right?
individual, a business, or demand.
Right. So those are the only 3 places you can go. So if you're going to look for a place to put a sign, you want to rent a 2-foot space. And you're going to pay them. You're going to actually go in and talk to them, and you're going to pay them a commission or a monthly fee to have your signs stay there for weeks.
Hmm.
So in other words, you're going to place a sign on this property, and the sign police aren't going to come along and take it down because it's on somebody's property.
Yep.
And you have an agreement with that person. Now, if you're paying them money and somebody comes to try to take that sign down, what happens?
Well, if they saw them, they would tell them, "Hey, don't touch it."
Right. That's on my land. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. Now, here's a little twist. All right. Once you get going. And this is back to 1. Remember I told you the 1? The third thing?
Yes, I was trying to like the one what.
Yeah.
So explain away.
The basic of 1 is often skipped.
Okay.
So here's where we're going to talk about the 1. Now each 10 to 12 signs, once they've proved their results, which I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, is a set. It's a set of signs. It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's your business, because you should be getting 3 or 4 phone calls a day, and you should be buying 1 to 4 properties a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now with you, I talked you into this because I said to you, Peter, I want you to make $3,000 to $5,000 a week, expecting to get 1 deal a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you and I are going to do, because I'm just determined.
Good.
Right? So, but once we start talking about this, it's going to be more like $3,000 to $10,000 a month, right? You're going to do 1 to 4 deals a month. But once you have 1 set, 10 to 12 signs, and it's performing,
Mm-hmm.
you now have a business. This is your business.
You know that you have something that works.
Right. So now once you have that 1 set and you put that 1 set together, you know how to get 1 to 4 deals a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to want to duplicate that in another area and make another set. And then duplicate it again and make another set.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you have 4 sets, right?
Are these different sets that might be different message?
Areas.
It could be a different message in a different area.
No. It's different locations. So like
Okay.
if you get 10 or 12 locations, like in
Okay.
Yalesville, now you might go into Wallingford, another section. Could be the same town, just a different section of town.
Okay.
Or it could be another town or another county. It doesn't matter.
And the same message would work there because it's same
So
area?
Hang on.
Okay.
So once you have 1 set of 10 or 12 signs, we'll say in a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
Now you go outside of that 5-mile radius and you do another set.
Mm-hmm.
After the first one has worked, after you figured out the first one, that's the number of 1, because you figured out how to do 1 set of signs, which is 10 or 12, that are bringing you 3 to 4 phone calls a day, getting you 1 to 4 houses bought per month, making $3,000 to $10,000 per month. That once that set is up and running, that business is up and running, you now go franchise it and you go do another one. This is like Wendy's when they first started, or McDonald's. They got 1 store working and then they got another store going.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is what it's like. Once you get 4 of these sets of 10 to 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you're going to do is you're going to rotate them so you don't burn them out. So like week 1, you use set 1 for your signs.
Then that means like a message, right?
Right.
Okay.
I don't know why you're stuck on that. We haven't gotten there yet. So,
Okay.
so we're gonna put our signs out on set 1. Then on week 2, we're going to take our signs off of set 1, and we're going to put them on set 2.
Oh.
And then on week 3, we're going to take our signs off of set 2 and put them on set 3. This is just advanced. You're doing this so you don't burn out the locations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the signs aren't there 4 weeks out of the month, and so you can put them, you can randomly, and then once you get going, which I hope you would do, I know that I want to do with you, you can get 10 or 12 of these and then just put signs up once every quarter.
Oh.
Right. So the other thing that you could do is once you get a set, you can rotate them. So if set 1 bought you a house, as soon as you buy a house, you take those signs that work to buy that house and you put them on set 2. And then on set 1, you put, we have a house for sale.
Of course.
And you leapfrog them. The point is you don't burn out the location.
Well, that's really, I like that part. Like house, I want to buy your house. Okay, good. And a week or 2 later, whatever, you have a sign like house for sale. People go,
right.
Wait a minute. They bought one because
right.
they're selling it. If they can tell it's us by the sign of the lettering, Pete sells houses, right?
So your job is to get the first 10 or 12 locations. That's your business. Because once you get those locations and you procure them and you have agreements with those landowners, your job is to go out once a week and put a new sign out.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be getting 3 to 4 phone calls a day if the message is right and the locations are correct. You should be getting 3 to 4 phone calls a day. Now they're calling you. It changes the whole thing. It changes the whole makeup. It changes who's calling you. Because if you do what I'm going to show you in the next couple minutes, the next 20 minutes, because that's how much time we have left. If you do what I'm showing you, you're going to actually weed out the assholes. And you're going to get just the ones that are going to want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have that. We have that. So the model is, the framework is 10 to 12 locations that you can put your sign on and control those areas.
Yep.
Once you get one done, you're going to want to expand and get another set somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So you can now get more. Okay, so moving on. And most vital to these frameworks is testing, which is what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So what you should do is once you're certain you're getting some phone calls, so you're going to put out a regular message, which I'm going to give to you in a minute. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple suggestions. You're going to take all 10 or 12 signs, and they're all going to say the same thing. So you know that the areas are producing phone calls. Right? Are you with me? So you know that the locations are producing phone calls.
Right.
Now you start testing the message. So instead of changing the message on all 10, you change the message on 2 or 3. Because now you know, okay, well, this location, 123 Main Street and Arch Street, is producing 10 phone calls a week. Or 3 phone calls a week. Now you change the message on 123 Main Street and Arch Street to a different message and see if you can get it to go up. You don't do all 10, you just do 2 or 3 of them. And then if it makes it go from 3 phone calls a week to 10 phone calls a week, okay, now you're changing on the other 7.
Right.
Okay, so the message could be something like this. So you start testing with this message. Obviously, you use your name, not Pete's name. Unless, of course, you want to use our phone number and advertise for us, we'll give you a commission.
Go right ahead.
So the first line says, Pete buys houses. The very top line. Next line says, up to market value. Next line says, offer within 24 hours. And then a phone number. underneath the phone number in smaller print, you put the number 24/7 free recorded message.
Yeah.
So people know they're not going to talk to a human being, and they'll confront that better.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
It's true though. They're a little bit uncomfortable talking to somebody I don't talk to. So free recorded message, just find out more about it, and then they can judge if they're going to actually jump in and actually call.
That's a Dan Kennedy thing.
Yeah.
Or another example would be Pete buys houses. Line 1. Line 2, often 30% above market value. Next line, without fees.
I like that one.
Phone number, 24/7 free recorded message. So you get how the testing is done on these, right?
Mm. Well, we've come a long way to understand how much profit a person can have. With the terms deal, rent to own, lease option. So that last one kind of carries that forward to get away from we're lowballing you.
I'm gonna cover that in a minute. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So now this brings me to the technical aspect, which is not really technical, of the system. So there's two websites. There's actually one website and an app that you should use. In the beginning, you should do all this yourself. But after a while, you're going to want to hire somebody to put the signs out.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you want to do remote locations, if you want to do outside of your city.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first piece of technology we're going to use is a website called hostednumbers.com. It's spelled out that way, hosted numbers, 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 hostednumbers.com. What happens is they charge you $14.95 for your first phone line, and that phone line has a mailbox attached to it, so you can leave a message. And then it's $5 per number extra. So what you do is you get one phone number, which is your main phone number, and you can use that on a sign or not. That's up to you.
Mm.
And then you pay $5 for the other 12 locations. So what's going to happen is each location will have its own phone number. Doesn't matter what the sign says, the location will always have the same phone number.
Mm-hmm.
So you can test, right? And what you'll do, and this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to get an 89-cent notebook, and I'm going to write on the top of each page the location number.
Mm-hmm.
And on each line, every time I put a sign there, I'm going to put the date, and I'm going to put the language of the sign, and then I'm going to have a spot that I could put how long the sign was there for, 10 days, and how many phone calls I got.
Mm-hmm.
Just a total number. So 10 days, 150 phone calls.
Yep.
The next line is going to be another message. It's going to be the date, another message, and then 10 days, 180 phone calls received. Now, this hosted numbers is owned by Pat Live, which is Ron LeGrand's answering service. You know, what he's used for 40 years or 30 years. They're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do one of a couple things, which is a little bit advanced. I'm not talking about this today, but just to give you an idea. If you wanted to, instead of having them leaving a message, you can pay Pat Live. It's about $100 a month plus the I think $3 a minute or something like that. You could buy packages from them. Pat Live will actually receive the phone calls and ask 5 or 8 questions that then could be emailed to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can completely automate it that way if you wanted to. I don't think you should do that in the beginning. I think you should be getting the messages and you should be calling them. By the way, hosted numbers captures the caller ID, so you will have all those caller IDs.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, what I have done is I've used websites, which I can't think of right now, and we would download all the phone people that called us, and we would do a phone blast.
Mm.
So once a month or every couple of weeks. We especially do that when we're selling a house.
Sure.
So for each location, you should have 2 phone numbers, one phone number for acquisition and another phone number for selling.
Mm-hmm.
So each location should technically, in the beginning, you can start with one phone number and just keep track of your log.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, you're going to want one for buying and one for selling.
Right.
That's your entire system. What you're paying there, the $50 or $60 you're going to pay for that phone system, you're then going to buy your signs, but you're not buying. You don't have to buy 500 signs like we were before. You need to buy a few dozen signs, blank signs, and then change the messages.
Mm-hmm.
But to start off with, you only need 12 and 12 H frames.
Yep.
Which is not a lot of money. The second piece of technology is an app, but you should go to their website first. It's called simplecrew.com. Simple, SIMPLECREW, simplecrew.com. This is software to keep track of contractors, but they have added a module, and it's software to easily keep track of and manage where your team or you place the signs. So it's an app, and what it does is, I believe inside the app, you go in the app, and the person who's putting out the signs has the app on their phone,
Mm-hmm.
on their smartphone. And when they place the sign, they take a picture of it.
Yep.
So it's evidence that the sign is there. And if
Mm-hmm.
you have the location and you know what the location looks like, you know that it's the right place. But more importantly, this software geo-tracks, so it has the location, and it timestamps the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that the sign is in the right location and was put there correctly. Okay?
Yeah.
It's got maps and everything. It's a whole little, it's pretty cute how they did it.
Yeah. I looked that up the other day, went through it. It's like $19 a month for 2 people to use. So it's not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll use it for, like, if there's a concert, you have guys putting out signs for a concert, or anything like that. That's how you track it.
Right. Okay, so lastly, and this is not 100% proven yet because we're still doing this secret project, but you can check out this service for traffic count.
Mm-hmm.
It's called streetlightdata.com. Streetlightdata. STREETLIGHT, D like in David, ATA.com.
Mm-hmm. Street light data.
Yeah. The reason why is because you're going to want to have locations that can perform 1 to 4 phone calls a day.
Mm-hmm.
So the ground rule should be this. I'm not going too fast, am I?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. Well, I've gone through a bit of this, of course, so I'm tracking with you, but it's not that complicated. I mean, it has some elements of more sophistication so that you make it more
I just want you to
effective,
do
more workable.
one set, 10 or 12 signs. Once you figure all these little things that we're talking about out and you have one working and getting 1 to 4 deals a month purchased,
Mm-hmm.
then you can duplicate it anywhere. So I just want you to do just one set of signs, 10 to 12 signs. Now, here are the rules for traffic.
Mm-hmm.
A 1-lane road has to have at least 1,000 cars going on past your sign a day.
Right.
Okay, that's a 24-hour period. So a 1-lane road has to have 1,000 or more cars a day.
Right.
A 2-lane road has to have 10,000 cars a day. And a 3-lane road has to have 20,000 or more cars a day.
Okay.
Did I say 3-lane road or 4-lane road?
3.
Okay, so I'm going to do it again. So 1-lane road has to have 1,000 or more cars a day.
Yeah.
A 2-lane road has to have 10,000 cars a day. And a 4-lane road has to have 20,000 cars a day.
Right. Of course, that's just going one way. Right. Well, if you, like you say, 1 lane, that's 1 lane left, 1 lane right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then a 2-lane, there's like 2 going each way.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it always sounds like a 4-lane could be 2 this way, 2 that way.
Right. Yeah. It's more important than numbers. I wouldn't get hung up on what type
Yeah.
of a road it
So
is. You want to have at least 1,000 cars, 10,000 cars, or 20,000 cars.
right. So from the way you explain it today makes it a little clearer to me. Like if it's only a 1-lane road, don't do it if there's only 500 a day, at least 1,000. And if
Right.
it's a 2-lane, at least 10,000 or whatever. So it's not just 2 lanes and nobody's there.
Right.
If it's 2 lanes, it should have more traffic. Okay. All right.
I think it's both ways. I think it's 2 lanes both ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then 4 lanes is 2 lanes both ways.
But the most important thing is that you find streets that have lots of traffic.
So you want 1,000, 10,000, 20,000.
Okay.
Right. The traffic count is huge, and places to put the signs so they're visible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you get your 10 to 12 locations or get one set, you should produce between $3,000 and $10,000 a month. Now, when I say should, it's 95%.
Mm-hmm.
There is no variation. In fact, I'd like to say 100%, but people do funny things, and I can't promise that. So if you're not making $3,000 to $10,000 a month with 10 to 12 signs, you've done something wrong, or are doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You should get in my coaching group. How's that for a plug? Right? Then once you get that working and you're making $3,000 to $10,000, you do another set and you double it to $6,000 to $20,000.
Mm.
Then you get another set and triple it. Okay.
Mm.
Right. So now for the final punchline for today. Right? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure this is rolling around a few people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to start off with one deal structure. That's our sandwich lease option deal structure, where you're actually getting the seller to do a lease option and you're transferring it to the buyer. You're assigning it to the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
They're quick. You could do these within a week or two, especially if you have the sign location and you have sellers and buyers calling you and you set something up. I mean, we have Creative REI Reply. Creative REI Reply will do all of this, especially for the buyers. You want to capture all your buyers, which you will do in hosted numbers. So when you start getting all your buyers lists for that phone number, now realize that phone number is isolated to an area now, right?
Yep.
So when you get a house in that area, you download that phone number and you do a phone blast and say, hey, I just got a new house and you're on my VIP list. Go look at it today. You could probably sell that house in the first 3 or 4 days because you already had that list in hosted numbers and you just keep blasting that list.
Mm-hmm.
Because it captured all the phone numbers of the buyers when they called in asking about the house. Right?
Right.
So here's what happens. We do slot deals, meaning that we're going to get a cent. So if you've rented from a landlord in the past, you know 90% of this. It's not hard. You're going to lease with an option to purchase for at least 3 years from your seller, and you're going to go find a buyer to take over that lease with no landlord obligations to your seller.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have a bunch of podcasts to describe the slot deal. The magic is, if you go back in the last 15 podcasts, you'll hear us talking about this Grand Slam offer thing.
Yep.
The Grand Slam offer allows you to offer them 30 to 70% more than market value and still make $3,000 to $10,000 a month. It's an incredible offer that they feel foolish to say no with.
And we didn't have that when we were doing the signs before.
Right.
I mean, it's not new math. It's just we just pieced it together over the last couple of years. Just doing deals, going to our accountant, seeing how good things turn out and how much profit and savings there are. That's a huge bonus that we didn't have a few years back to offer that. Like what you said on the signs, like that's incredible.
Now, when you start going and your signs start producing 1 to 4 deals a month, a day, 1 to 4 phone calls a day, 1 to 4 deals a month,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get other deals. You're going to get probate deals. You're going to get cash deals. You're going to get subject to deals. You're going to get other things. And if you're not ready for that, then you should just write contracts and go wholesale them at your RIA.
Yep.
Or find someone like me to coach with, or find someone to partner with, because once you control your lead inflow, you have everything. You have all the power. You can find partners left, right, and center.
That's right.
You see this magic?
Hmm.
So I put in the description of this podcast a link that you can go get a calculator. If you want to use a calculator and know how to do other deals, there's the calculators there, and all the paperwork for this Grand Slam offer thing, the scripts and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not trying to keep it a secret from you. We do have a fee, but we give it to you, I think, for 14 days or 30 days or something for free.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go in there and you can check it out. Okay, but imagine this: like if you jumped on this like today, by this time next month, you could have 10 or 12 signs producing phone calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could have your hosted numbers up and running. They'll be calling you. You have a voice message, right? You leave a voice message. Hi, my name is Bill Hawthorne. I buy houses, and leave a voice message. Ours is a bit long, but that's what I'm going to do, right? You weed out your suspects, right?
Yep.
And then if you're getting 1 to 4 phone calls a day off these signs because you put them on locations, right? I'm telling you, put them out with 1,000 on a 1-lane road, 10,000 on a 2-lane road, and 20,000 on a 4-lane road. If you put one sign out on each one of those, right?
Mm.
That's 31,000 cars a day will see your signs on just 3 locations.
True.
If you did it on 6 locations, that's 66,000 people would see your signs. And if you did it on 12, that's 120,000 people will see your signs. You have to do a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Really, you have to do a deal. Right? How could you not?
Right. Because there's always a house that may not be able to sell on the MLS. They're over leveraged, something. There's houses. There's always been motivated sellers. It seems a little harder to find them lately, but this is a good way for them to find us.
Right.
And they'll see the sign every day too. It's not just one day. If they're the next day, and they go, let's call them.
Right. And then when you actually get a house under contract, you then go take the signs down, and like you said, you put out house for sale, no bank qualifying, call this free recorded message.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that free recorded message sends them to the house, and when they get to the house, there's a sign out front that says house for sale, no bank qualifying. If you want to get in the house, dial this number, and you have another phone number for that house that gives them the lockbox code, right?
Mm-hmm.
And lets them in the house. It's incredibly simple. It's not simple because you got to get the locations. Once you get the locations, you have a business. Mm-hmm. The business is those 12 locations. That's the entire business. Right? It's no different than McDonald's going in or Walmart going in and doing their studies to find out if they should spend the money to put a building up. You ever notice that a Walmart goes in a location and within a week it's mobbed?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's a mistake?
It's no accident.
You think that's happenstance? No, it's no accident. That's right.
Oh, they got guys doing surveys, traffic flow, targets, whatever.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So that's my story. I hopefully have changed your way of thinking. Hopefully I have made it very simple for you. I promise you that this is you're listening to the first time we've ever released this. And I promise you that Peter and I are secretly doing this in the background. Well, we're not secretly doing it anymore because I just told you. But I promise you that I will have this within a month. I will have this system up and running, and we'll start getting statistics on what's going to happen and how to find the signs. And we are going to go through it and test it and get it going. And I'm sure eventually people will ask me what I'm doing, and I'm sure eventually we're going to have to record it all and put it in some sort of a portal and deliver it to you so you get all the intricacies, but maybe not. We'll see what happens. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing this to help Peter make $3,000 to $5,000 a week. That's what I'm doing. So, because you have to realize that Peter and I split deals, so I'm making money too. We're all making money.
I was just going to say, Bill, I'm so grateful that when this happens, I'm going to give you half.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for creating it and doing all the work on that end while I do this part. But it's very mutual. And by the way, if anybody's out there trying to do this alone, get a friend, get a partner, somebody. So when you fall down, they'll pick you up. When they fall down, you pick them up. When you get discouraged, they'll encourage you, vice versa. And just have somebody to, even Bill, as smart as he is, likes to talk. And I listen. He goes, oh, that meant, it just helps you sort things out. Sounding boards.
I make a lot of mistakes too. So
yeah, but we get through them.
So I didn't learn the real estate business. The real estate business taught me with my mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned. I learned it from all my mistakes. And those mistakes, I come here and I just articulate them and say, you shouldn't do this in one sentence. But it probably took me 5 years and God knows how many tens of thousands of dollars to figure that out. And you don't know that because I don't tell you. And then you take it as too simple of a datum and you don't apply it as like a law or a natural thing. Like if you do it the wrong way. And by the time people get to me in the coaching group, they're like, that's why I'm in your coaching group, because I tried this and it was exactly the way you said. I tried that and it was exactly the way you said, good or bad. So that's how they end up in the coaching group and they want more of that. So, okay, Peter, we're at 1 hour, 7 minutes. As usual, we always go over that 6 or 7 minute point. So don't forget to like us wherever you're watching us. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us or watching us. Make sure you leave us a review. And if you have any questions, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side is a support link and send us a support ticket. Until the next episode, which is 397, flourish and prosper, man. Go out there and make some deals. We would love to hear that. Over and out. Have a good week.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.